Is having to fart all the time not the symptom of like needing to shit? Like when your dog is farting a lot, don't you automatically feel like you have to shit? Like the dog has to shit?
What you're missing here is everybody always has to shit. It's just the degree at which you have to shit at the moment. So, I don't know.
Yeah, because I think... No, I only had to shit like 2 or 3 times a day.
Well, that's at the moment where it's, at your anus knocking at the door to get out.
And every time I shit, I have to shit like right then. I don't wait. I'm not that person who like goes on the toilet, drinks water, and then is like waiting for a poop. I think that's like super oddly unhealthy. I want to shit like when I'm fucking ready. And it's always like, okay, I'm going to help you in a minute, ma'am. I have to go to the restroom real quick. And then I like go and take a 15-minute shit. And I come back and that person's with somebody else. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't think I would be working with that person after that.
My issue with having shit at work is when you have to shit and you put it off too long already. And you have like a line. You have people lining up to come get help from you with shit that's gonna take like 30 minutes a piece.
Yeah,
you're like, you don't want to move from that spot because you're like your ass is clenched up so hard, and you're like, please God, like you're diverting a little bit of attention to, please, whatever forces may be out there, don't let a little bit of shit leak out my ass while we're doing this. And if I have to fart really bad, please don't let the turtle head come out.
Don't let it be shit.
Please don't let it be shit. And if I fart, I know I have to shit right now, but please don't let it smell so bad.
I had that happen the other day where I had to shit really bad. Just like I said, like I wait till the end. Mm-hmm. And I was working with this customer for a long time. Then I was like, okay, well, you have a good one. And right when I was working with them, 2 more people walked up. Like I was just about to finish, and the lady goes, she goes, okay, the transfer might take a little while. I'm going to walk around the store. And I was like, okay, I'll see you in a few minutes. And then right when she said that, I looked up and I was like, fuck. And there was 2 more families there. And I was like, how can I help you? And then the first lady was like, hey, I want to do this and that. I'm not going to tell you where I work, but they were like, I want to do this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, fuck. Okay. And like I started and I'm going through the process and it ended up kind of being fraud. And I was like, oh, thank God. Thank God it was fraud. Thank God it was fraud. And then the next person was like, hey, I want to get this. And I was like, fuck, dude. I'm like, and the whole time I have like a chicken nugget shit on the end of my knocking at the back door. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, all right, well, I'm gonna go check on that real quick and I'll be right back. And then I ended up just running to the toilet and taking a big old dookie and coming back. Yeah, that happens a lot where I had to poop. And I'm like, I'm always anticipating that I'm gonna be able to go whenever I have to go, but then I can't. There's always like another force keeping me there.
Yeah.
And there's not enough at my job. There's not enough staff where I can like leave and go poop like comfortably and come back. Where people are like, oh yeah, I didn't even notice you were gone because there's so many of us. No, there's like me and one other fucking person.
Yeah. I used to work. I guess I feel comfortable saying this because nobody fucking knows me. You'll never know me, idiots.
Oh, wait, listen.
I used to work...
It did show up on the wave! Nice.
I used to work at a wireless kiosk, and so there was no inside to it. It's not like I used to work behind the counter, cashier shit. Mm-hmm. And that, as long as no one else is back there, you let a fart rip back there, and like, hey, I'm gonna go over there and check real quick, and then you just rip a fart. And there's nobody back there to like even know. Nobody knows it happened. You feel like fucking James Bond in that bitch. But I worked at a kiosk where we worked around the kiosk, and so everybody, like other customers, like shopping, would walk right past, and you can't. There, you have to be on top of your shits and your farts there. You just have to. And it's just you. Sometimes, though, I would play this game where I would, if it was just me at the kiosk, which was a lot of the time, I knew a motherfucker was coming in because they were good. Something's wrong with their phone. I'm gonna have to take the case off because they can't do it themselves. Apparently,
Yeah,
that's impossible.
Yeah, if it's an OtterBox, they're
Yep.
like, I have no idea how to get
Yep.
this off.
I need you to take this
always
off.
say
I need
that.
you to remove the screen protector. I need you to transfer all my files onto the
Oh,
new phone,
God.
even though
The
this is a
file
brand
transferring
new
is
phone.
the worst, dude.
Yeah, and I have no files. I used this for a fucking day. I didn't even transfer over my contacts yet. But I did take one picture last night when I was at a bar with some friends that's all super blurry, and it's only
Well,
a
it's
picture of like a few
worthless.
beer bottles. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
want that transferred over to the new phone. I could see these people coming, right? You learn it. You know when they're walking up.
She's never deleted a
She's
message
coming up here
ever.
with- yeah, she's coming up here with a fucking flip phone with some grainy ass pictures in it that she wants to see. And she thinks you can just plug that thing into another thing and
Yeah,
there's
there
all
it
my
is.
shit. But I would see
Yeah.
these people coming, and it was a big kiosk. I would fucking duck and hide around the backside and just like play fucking peekaboo with them, because if I had to take a shit, I didn't want to deal with them at the moment, and I knew they would leave and come back after a little bit, so I would play hide and fucking seek around the kiosk, ducking around, trying to like anticipate their movements, so I could run to the bathroom after they decided to shake their head, shrug their shoulders, and walk away for a
Like
second.
you're not there.
Yeah, I would run to the fucking bathroom, unload that shit, speed run that shit, and run back and just act like I was there the whole time. And just be like, oh, I can't believe you didn't see me.
Oh my god, I was here the whole time.
Yeah. Those are some of the. I think
What was the
that
kiosk? What service was it?
wireless phones. So I would sell.
It was any phone. It was any service.
Well, there's particular phones there, and you could activate them on T-Mobile, Sprint, Verizon, AT&T. I think we did those four.
You did all of them.
yep.
What the fuck?
Dude, we didn't even get like good commissions. Our commissions were.
The fact that someone can do all of them, because I know Best Buy only does 3.
I was in a kiosk doing all of them. We only had specific phones.
Yeah, and a lot of the ones at the mall are like one. It's just like T-Mobile, then you go to another one, and it's like AT&T maybe.
Yeah.
I always see T-Mobile. I never really see anyone else.
Or
Or like just like an Amazon one at the Parks Mall.
an Amazon one.
Well, it's not for phones, but it's like an Amazon kiosk where you can buy like
right.
Echo Dots and shit.
Yeah. Don't go to Walmart to buy this stuff. Buy it here at the specialized kiosk.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I feel like kiosk people scare the shit out of me. Not scare the shit. Yeah, I dream about them in my nightmares. Hey, let me straighten your hair. Come over here, beautiful. Let me straighten your hair. No, like they're like super avoidable. They're like the humans that scare me. Like not scare me, but like I want to avoid them. They're kiosk people are the equivalent of like unwarranted. Yes, I was gonna say hobos, like unwarranted hobos, where they come up to you, ask you for money, or someone in the parking lot who's like, "Hey, do you got some change?"
Yeah.
That make me uncomfortable. It's the same level of uncomfortability where someone's like, "Hey, beautiful, come over here, let me spray some shit on you." Or the guys who are like, "Yo, your kicks look nice, bro. Look better if you put my shit on them." And they have like a spray, and they're like, "I'll do one of your shoes," but they'll only do one of the shoes. They won't do the other one. So you can't like walk away with like 2 nice shoes, and then do that every day until they stop noticing it's you.
Yeah. I
No, they
feel
freak
like
me out. I don't like the persistence.
There was we went to I think this was at Scarborough Fair. Now, to be fair, I make up a lot of memories in my head, so this could very well have not happened at Scarborough Fair.
At Scarborough, they're pushy.
So I went with I think I went.
It's like a Renaissance fair, by the way.
Yeah. I went there with Kaylee and her family.
His wife, not mine.
Yeah, my fiance.
Oh.
Yeah. I went there one year, and
not that we share the same. We don't share the same girl. They just have the same name.
Yeah,
and they happen to be best friends.
Yeah, it does get kind of confusing. It's I call yours K Dog and mine Kaylee. That
Right.
helps me.
Yeah.
Although I still, whenever I say Kaylee, your wife will turn
We'll
her
look
head
up,
and look
of
at
course.
whatever I'm
Why
pointing
wouldn't
at.
she?
Yeah. And
It's convenient that my name is like obscure.
yeah. Well, imagine me and you having the same name. That would be another layer. Of
Oh
confusion.
yeah, like we're both Aaron, and then we're like Aaron and Kaylee and Kaylee. Oh, by the way, this is Aaron.
Yeah.
Special guest. Beautiful. He has pink hair right now. Looks like salmon.
Yeah, it looks like I'm emulating iPhone's rose gold right now. Look at my head.
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep the opinions.
Are you gonna dye it again?
Yeah, at some point I'm gonna dye my hair again. I don't know what. I thought about doing purple next because I was thinking about doing purple next.
Nice, dude. Then it'll look like my
well,
wife and
yeah,
my
well,
wife's purple hair.
That's another point for doing purple is because I'm gonna dye it purple and I'm gonna come up in here with some fabulous purple hair and I'm gonna be like, look at this shit. You can't.
Would you do like an indigo purple, or would you do like a purple?
I don't know. I just use splat. I'm not very high standard.
Yeah, just whatever they have.
Yeah, I'll throw a color in there, and it's good for a little bit, and I honestly really don't care.
You could probably go directly from this to any other color, and you'll probably except for yellow. Don't do oh god, yellow would look bad.
Well, I dyed my hair blonde that one time.
That was really nice, but I'm saying yellow. Blonde looked great. Yellow is like shocking.
But I wanted like, so
no pun intended.
Like I have this is a peek into my personality. I have the little seed of want to do yellow now because of how bad you think it's going to look on me.
I think it would look bad.
And I want to put that out into the world.
I just think it looks bad on anybody. I can't see yellow on anyone and be like, "Oh, that looks good." Do you ever see anyone highlighter yellow or any yellow at all? No, there's a reason.
No, I did see. Kaylee was watching TikTok or Instagram, whatever she was watching. She watches a lot of weird stuff. I catch her watching a lot of mukbang or whatever.
Is it like a hentai?
No, kind of, honestly. It's where Asian men and women will stuff their mouths with tons of food.
What?
Like just shoveling it in, and people love watching this stuff. I have no idea why. It
like the whole bag of Cheerios?
Not even a whole bag of Cheerios. They'll cook like a ton of food, greasy food. They'll get like an entire plate of octopus tentacles or something.
That's
like,
so nasty.
I'm not even sure if that's safe to eat. Maybe I'm thinking squid tentacles.
I think it probably is.
Whatever kind of tentacles.
Most fish is okay to eat raw.
And they'll just start shoveling it in their mouth, and like you can see their cheeks puff out like chipmunks, and they're just shoveling.
Is it
all
like
in there
it channels back to that impregnation thing that they're like really into for some reason?
Probably the inflation.
Stuff. Yeah, not impregnation, inflation. I get like wanting boobs to be like really little and then being like huge for some reason. I kind of get that because like it's a sexual object, but a stomach going from like a normal size to like straight up like pregnancy size is disgusting to me. Like, because all I can think of is like how painful that would be, and that just makes me really sick.
Just hit.
What was it? It was a point before the whole hair dye thing.
We went to Scarborough Fair.
Oh yeah.
We were getting.
I'm tipsy. You're not.
Oh, it's not hard to. It's not hard to break off into other conversations. To digress, is that the right word?
Yeah.
We were at Scarborough Fair, and it was essentially like the equivalent of a kiosk there. Just that they sold ears.
Like elven ears. Yeah.
I feel like this happened. Now, this might,
but you don't really know because your memory.
But this is a memory in my head. I'm trying to come to terms with my memories are sometimes not completely accurate. But we were there, and they were trying to get us to get ears. And so they like put the adhesive on, popped an ear on, and they were like, look at that, look how cool that looks. And it was adhesive. Like they glued the ear on, and then they were like, all right, so you can get the other one if you pay us. And it was like, are you kidding me? Like I thought this was voluntary.
So what are you gonna do? Rip the fucking ear off of your own ear?
Like they would come off eventually, but then you're walking around with one ear that's glued on at this point.
So were they willing to let one ear go?
I don't know.
For a non-sale?
So I don't know anybody who would who would just walk away from that and be like, I don't want the rest of it, thanks.
I don't know. I might have. Still.
Maybe now, if looking back on it, having the knowledge of that happening, I might have done it just for the, like, haha, fuck you.
So what's your point? The kiosk guy gave you an ear, and you were like,
yeah,
you were just forced to buy it.
Yeah, they pretty much.
They do that when they straighten people's hairs. They'll straighten one half of their fucking head, and they're like, cool, buy the straightener, I'll do the other half.
Yeah,
but they don't tell you that until after they straighten your fucking head.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm talking about.
I guess. How much is it? $120.
Yeah.
No,
You gotta go all the way.
I'll go home after this. And I would have told him no. In that scenario, 100% I would go home.
I was younger.
With the ear, a little different. With the hair, dude, you could just go home. And plus, like, girls are prettier anyways. So if you do half a fucking head of hair and the other half is curly, you might be like, that's kind of a cool look. We don't have a fucking studio. It's like it's just my bedroom, and then like currently
we're sharing.
It's just my bedroom, and we're just like sharing a bed.
It's
we're
like you have a sleepover and you're just talking to a friend from
before you go to bed. Yeah.
Across the bread.
Honestly, that's like kind of the best part about a sleepover is like when you would go to the sleepover, and then right before you guys go to bed, you guys are just laying there and you talk for like another 3 fucking hours about like everything, and you're like, dude, remember that one time when you went over that girl's house? That was so crazy. He's like, yeah, dude, I never told you this, and then he'll go off. But you guys never really make eye contact because it's dark as fuck, and you guys are just sitting there talking. Sometimes you guys will be talking to each other, facing away from each other, having a full-blown conversation for 3 fucking hours, and then it's like 5 a.m. and you'll crash because you can't talk anymore.
Yeah, that only works when you have the 2 people sleepovers, though. If you have
3
a third person there, one of them is trying to sleep. They want to sleep, and they're getting mad at you for talking.
Oh, dude, I don't know if I ever told you about this. There's one time, I probably didn't because there was probably no reason, but one time when I was in the band, we were trying to find a bass player, and there was this guy, I think his name was like Joseph or something like that. He was like, he was this dude who had a 2-story house, and he had like 8 fucking rooms. His parents weren't there. It was just him and his brother, and they were staying at the house. We went to his house, and we went to his house. You know, we did some band practice. We showed him the songs and stuff, and he like played some bass to it, but gave up really quickly on like the practice. And he was like, "Yo, I'm really hungry. I'm gonna go get us some food. What do you want?" And we were like, I don't know. And he was like, "I'm getting Jack in the Box." It was like non-negotiable. So he got Jack in the Box, like Jack in the Box tacos and shit. And we were just willing to eat whatever because we were like 16 or 17. Free food's free food. Yeah. So he went with John, our vocalist, to get the food, but he left us 2 together by ourselves in this house. And he said, "You are not allowed to leave this room. You cannot touch anything. Don't touch anything." So we totally fucking did. Yeah. Because he told us not to. Yeah. So he left. He put a movie on, like intentionally.
Yeah, to try to grab your like you're a couple of little fucking kids.
Yeah,
like,
for
hey,
sure.
Yeah. Oh, look at all the pretty colors.
Such a fucker, right?
Stay here, guys.
Yeah, so he did that. He had a Superman with like, and his arm was posed like with like the left arm like way up, and we switched it so the right arm was way up and not the left arm. It's just to fuck with him. We went downstairs. Of course, we left the room for sure. It was what was stopping us. We left the room. He had put $100 bill on the table, and then when we opened it, it was a fake $100 bill. So it was there to test you. And it was like, man, fuck this guy. So what was my point? Oh, the guy trying to sleep. So we went. So he brought back some food. It was like so little. It was like the scraps of everything. So we were really hungry. We like went to bed really soon after. Like this guy was like a fucking baby. Yeah. But his house was so cold. His house was like 30 degrees in that bitch. But none of us had hoodies. None of us brought anything else. And the rule to stay in the room stayed even when we were sleeping. So like he had like 8 fucking rooms in this huge house. He wanted us to stay in this one room. And we didn't know him that well. Yeah. And I could kind of see like why he was like worried or whatever. But we would have just wanted to sleep in a normal room. Mm-hmm. He had like 4 other rooms that were open, completely open. Like the doors were wide open, no furniture, just a bed. And we could have slept in there, but he didn't let us. So he said like, go to bed. I slept on the bed. He took all the blankets and said I could not get underneath the blanket or I was gay. He was like, you're gay if you're gay if you get underneath the blanket. And I was like, but I'm cold. And he was like, bro, I don't fuck with this. I only got one blanket. And if you're under the same blanket as me and you're a guy, you're gay and you're like trying to come on to me. And I was like, so what do you want me to do? Just lay on top? And he was like, at least you get the fucking bed. Only 2 guys in the bed. So I got to lay in the bed, but I had to lay on top. It was 30 degrees or some shit. It was probably like 65, but it was cold as fuck. So I'm on top of the blanket. Meanwhile, the vocalist and the guitarist of my band were sitting down on the ground, and they were cold too. They had nowhere else to sleep except for the floor. So they sat in the dog bed. The fucking dog bed. And then they got cold, so they, no bullshit, cuddled each other and took the dog bed and laid it over them, which smelled like piss. So they put the dog bed over them to stay like somewhat warm just from the weight of it, and fell asleep together. And I was pulling the fucking corner, you know, like the blanket that hangs over the bed, the corner over my feet, and I was like shivering the whole night. Did not get like any sleep.
Oh my god. I would have fucking walked.
I just left.
And
walked home.
I
had no idea where I was. My parents dropped me off, and I was like, I had no like geographical location of where I was. I was in Arlington somewhere, but that was it.
I remember a couple times where I've went to go spend the night at a friend's house, and it just sucked so bad that I just left.
Yeah. Because like when you were a kid, sleeping over at someone's house was like a huge gamble. Whereas, and especially for someone you didn't know, and but you knew, but you never stayed the night at their house. Like I stayed the night at this one kid's house, who was our drummer, Josh, and he was like an excellent guy, kind of, but he.
Kind of.
Because he was like more of a dick back then, but he's cool now. I don't talk to him, but he looks like, you know, he has a fucking cool life now. But I stayed at his house, but then like his whole like scenario was really strange. And he had like, he was living in like a trailer home and stuff, and he like, which was fine. His family is fucking amazing to me. Still to this day, they're really nice to me. But his room, he had an AC unit, and that bitch was like 40 degrees. Same situation. I had no blanket, and I was freezing my ass off. And we stayed up late playing like a skateboarding game on like the PS, you know, the Xbox or whatever. And his ass fell asleep super early, and I wasn't tired. And I'm like laying there, like, what do I do? Like, and back then we didn't have phones with data and like, you know, fucking hanging out, and like I could just be on my phone the whole time. No, I had like a shitty BlackBerry type thing where I'm like, well, I could text girls if they reply or whatever, but that's it. And so I sat there, and I'm just like laying in this bed, freezing my fucking titties off, and you know, it was a big game. I never stayed the night at his house again. And then I woke up before him. So I had to wait till he woke up, and he was an aggressive guy, so I was scared to wake up. And plus I never spent the night at his house before, so I didn't want to like go over to like the kitchen and have breakfast and hang out on the couch and watch TV. No, like he didn't have any of that, so I just sat in bed in silence staring at the ceiling.
I stayed over the night. I stayed the night at one of my friends' house, Jesse, and he had a weird family. Like when we were over there, like so I went over there mainly. We played outside. We were like 14, 15 years old, playing on the trampoline, like play fighting.
Dude, yes, I did the same shit. We play fight on like the trampoline, doing kicks and shit. Yeah.
Played some basketball, and then I think we played in the pool for a little while, and then we went inside when it started getting dark. So this was in Georgia, out in the woods in a cul-de-sac, like surrounded by woods. So you don't want to stay out too late because, you know, when you're a kid and you're out in the dark forest, like everything's making a noise, and none of it's familiar to you. So we went inside, and we weren't allowed to go into his room.
What?
Yeah, we weren't allowed to go into his. I was spending the night. Everybody knew I was spending the night. We weren't allowed to go into his room.
They were scared of the gay activity too. They were scared y'all were gonna touch dicks or something.
I think so. His dad was really.
Well, Georgia's pretty religious. Could have been kind of a religious thing.
No, I don't think it was a religious thing. I would think it was like a legit, like, I don't want you to be gay with this boy, and I don't want to find out that my son is gay. So you don't get to go in the room with your friend, like, until everybody goes to bed, and then I'm gonna be up, and I better not hear any gay stuff happening in that room. It's like.
So did he make you stay in like the living room?
Yeah, we were in the living room. So
with the parents.
This was a tiny little house.
God.
Everybody was in the living room. His dad was in the living room playing fucking one of the Call of Duty Nazi zombies.
Well, sounds like a cool dad.
Nobody else was allowed to play. We were all, no, I'm not kidding. Everybody was sitting.
Okay, so I took that back.
His 2 sisters were sitting in there, in the living room as well. I was sitting in the living room. His mom was sitting in the living room.
Yeah.
Like, everybody had to sit in the living room. And nobody else was allowed to play the game. And nobody else was allowed to go into bedrooms.
Okay, his parents kind of like assholes.
What
was the mom doing?
It was mostly his dad. Well, it was just sitting there talking to the dad. It was mostly... I don't know. It was weird. They chilled the next day. So we went to bed, woke up, got up in the morning.
Because during the daylight, you guys could be in the bedroom together, I'm sure. But the night times when you fuck,
yeah, I don't know.
They were scared.
I think he legit, because Jesse didn't have a lot of friends. Nobody would hang out with him or anything.
So they were scared that like the first friend was going to try to fuck him.
Yeah, we were just good friends. He got. But
you think if you were like a parent, do you think you'd be scared of the first kid who comes over?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Not scared for the gay thing, but like you think you'd be like, I mean, y'all behave. Fucking don't do anything crazy.
I mean, if they don't have any friends and nobody comes over till they're like 15 years old and it's somebody I don't know, maybe case by case. It depends how the kid acts, you know.
Yeah, because sometimes like your fucking son might pick up like a hooligan.
Yeah, and you don't want oh my god. Well, if I continue the story, we'll get to some shit.
Okay.
But the next day, got up. The mom was making breakfast. The issue is, it turns out this house was like infested with cockroaches. The like millions and billions of little tiny ones. Hardly ever did you see like a large one, like the ones you normally see.
Okay, I'm not staying at his house again. Okay.
Yeah, it was gross. Yeah. I didn't hold it against him.
No, it's not his fault.
It was like they had exterminators come out a bunch of times. It was just where the house was built was on top of like a really like big
cockroach burial ground.
Yeah, and so it was really gross. I didn't want to eat any of the food, but it was like it like I was so hungry, but I didn't want to eat any of. They bought cereal. They couldn't keep it after they opened it. They'd have to all eat it at once, because if they rolled up the cereal bag, they would crawl in there, and like the next time you open up that cereal, it's done. There's cockroaches running out of the bag.
Oh my goodness!
Containers had to be like all sealed and then like wrapped in plastic.
Why didn't they just do mason jars?
I don't know why they didn't do mason jars.
That's my first suggestion. Mason jars for sure.
What they did was they saran wrapped their.
That's not the same thing. They can get through that shit.
I know.
Why they could have got those?
They did get through that.
The
shit.
plastic containers where you like spin the top. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, you get the Costco bag of cereal and you like pour the whole, because it's a big fucking doggy bag of cereal, which is why fucking cereal's jacked up.
They were poor as fuck. That's why everything was like.
I mean, it sounds like that's the situation if they got cockroaches.
But Jesse was my friend for a while. That was the only time I ever stayed at his night, and he lived like right down the street.
But he stayed over your house?
Yeah, he had stayed over by my house.
Yeah.
That was part of some of the issue where his parents really had an issue with me. So.
Oh, because you ended up fucking Jesse when he came to your house.
Oh yeah, like it was like nuts. It was like a one-man bukkake session. No. So he came over.
I'm gonna fall off this bed and hit this whole staircase that's behind me for the dog.
You're gonna roll down. You're gonna roll down a dog staircase
with just the head. You're like.
So the cul-de-sac he lived in, and this isn't like a racialized thing or anything, but there was a family of Mexican immigrants that lived there. The kids were assholes. They were so involved in drugs. Now I don't think it was the whole family or anything. I think it was just the kids. Like one of the older brothers got into that kind of shit and it passed it along to the younger brothers.
It's probably tough to get out too.
Yeah. They did a lot of different kinds of drugs. They got my brother into it. My brother was hanging out with them for a long time, and they taught him how to, siphon off Freon from AC units. And that shit'll get you fucked up for like 30, 45 seconds, like inhaling a little bag of it. You're just lost in La La Land for a little bit. Like you can see, you can see they're looking at things that like don't exist. Like they're looking at the air in front of them and like watching it fly away into the other air. And there's nothing going on there. I don't condone drug usage.
Unless it's smoking weed. We need to legalize that.
Yeah, and end the war on drugs. But I don't condone illegal drug usage.
Yeah, legalize weed and the war on drugs.
But I don't condone doing anything illegal.
This is... Don't worry. You got a prerequisite. No. You know how many people talk about, I was going to say smoking mushrooms, but like doing mushrooms?
Yeah, but like that's
a tier 1 drug.
Having done mushrooms, and I had a great experience doing mushrooms.
Yeah, right.
Don't do mushrooms. I don't condone doing mushrooms. Don't go drop shrooms in your parents' basement.
Be a responsible person.
Yeah. Don't drop shrooms at work. But they had taught him how to do that as well. Or sorry, they taught Jesse how to do it as well.
Okay.
And Jesse and my brother were over at my house. My parents were gone. Uh-huh. They were staying, they had traveled from Georgia up to Wisconsin to do something with one of my grandmother's funerals, I think.
How many times has your grandma died?
Well, one of my grandmother. So the apostrophe, where the apostrophe is important. One of my grandmother's apostrophe s. Funerals. So, wait.
That's badass.
No,
your grandma's like Wolverine, man.
So my grandmother on my father's side they were up in Wisconsin dealing with that. So I was watching the house, and my younger brother and my friend Jesse were like, "Hey, there's no one here. Let's grab some of these trash bags and let's
smoke some Freon."
Yeah, we were out. I was like, this is kind of stupid, but I'm going to be the designated driver on this one. I didn't do drugs when I was younger. I didn't drink. I did smoke cigarettes for a while when I was like 12, but
You barely drink now.
Yeah, I like having a clear head usually.
Yeah.
Or as clear as my head can be. I don't need anything to like mess that up.
Yeah, he had a fucking Monte Cristo sandwich earlier today, and his ass spacing out for a few minutes.
Yeah, I diverted power from my head to my stomach for a while there. But they started doing trash. So normally, for context,
trash bag?
Freon. When anybody talks about doing Freon, you get like a Ziploc bag or a little bag you get from like a 7-Eleven, like a little plastic bag.
Like the buffalo wings or something?
Yeah, like a little one.
Okay.
And you do that, and it gets you high. It's like a whippet kind of. Or that's how they do it. My brother was dropping trash bags. He was sitting down there, and you could hear the hiss going for like a minute and a half before he'd come up with this bag filled with like a loose gas in it, and he would just stick it up to his mouth and just start crinkling it really fast.
That's so funny.
And then like he'd be like,
God, that's got to be so bad for you.
Brain dead for like 30 to 45 seconds.
No shit.
And I found out so quick. There's people who do Freon when they're on the high. They're so impressionable. You can tell them to do something and they don't even think about it. They just do it. It's like their own head is telling them, "Oh, we should do that," and so they go and do it. Jesse at one point had dropped a trash bag full, and I was like, "Jesse, go streaking down the hill," and he just took off full bore. Like full sprint down this hill, and he took off his shirt and somehow took off his pants mid stride.
That's fucking incredible.
He didn't trip at all. He was just taking off down this hill, and he got his pants off without tripping, without missing without missing a step somehow. I don't understand it. I still don't know how the physics of it work to this day.
Okay.
And I just heard him maybe like for 20 more seconds, like the pitter patter of his feet down on like the dark street down the hill, and like going down the street, and then it slowed down
Until
and
he
I just
came
heard
to.
him. Yeah, I just heard him. Guys, where are my pants?
Oh, because it fucking wore off.
Yeah, and he didn't even realize he had gone streaking.
What the fuck?
Once and at that time, my brother had.
And you never tried it?
No, I never tried.
Damn,
it.
I would have liked to know what it was like. I mean, I think that's a dumbass thing to do, man. I know people did like CO2, you know, like the spray tanks where it's like they're like little CO2 tanks. You like clean off your keyboard with it and shit, and people would turn those into
air
drugs.
dusters. Yeah.
Yeah,
My brother did that stuff too.
that's so dumb. Or
he
like
did anything
fucking
he could to get a high.
spray paint and shit. I know like Steve-O did stuff like that. Would just have like a whole carton of them and just fucking go through it. And he said he would have full blown conversations with shit in his living room, and they were more real to him than his friends were. Fuck.
Yeah. That stuff.
This was in Georgia or Wisconsin?
Georgia. They did so much of it that we ran out of. For the air conditioning unit, my parents were like so confused, like as to why it wouldn't get cold anymore. We're in Georgia. This is during summer. Why is it?
It's not even that hot in Georgia.
It's really hot in Georgia.
Is it?
Yeah, it's dry heat. It's not like humid where you're all
It's not like
sticky and stuff.
Texas
It's just
heat.
it just sucks. It's you're like sitting there and it's just like it's so dry and it's so fucking hot. All the grass is dying outside. There's city ordinance out on how much you can use water, like water rationing and stuff out there. It's like it was.
I don't
nuts.
understand that at all.
My parents were pissed and perplexed as to why do we not have air conditioning?
Did anyone give it away? Did anyone admit it?
Dude, just wait. They got somebody.
This story's
to come
still
out.
going. There's more to this story.
There's more to the story. I'm getting to the end. We're like 3/4 of the way done.
Okay.
They called out an air conditioning guy, got it refilled. It cost like $100-something.
The air conditioning guy was the one who was suspicious. He was like, "Man, I don't know, man. Someone could be smoking the Freon." They're like,
"Oh, he's
smoking the Freon."
He'd probably,
he'd probably
be like, "Oh, dude, yeah, you should.
Let me get
you
ahead
should
of that.
Try some Freon.
Let me get ahead of that Freon.
And then call me when you need a refill, man." They refilled it. They left to go shopping at some point.
Let me get ahead of that Freon.
My parents had said something. They had brought it up. They're like, "All right, don't let anybody near the air conditioning unit. We don't know what's going on with it. It may be leaking stuff. We don't know."
Wait, was it the AC unit that's outside that's
yeah.
built into the ground?
Yep.
Oh, I was thinking like a window unit.
Nope, not a window unit. It was the outside unit for the entire house. They said don't let anybody
so
outside near it.
Stupid.
Yeah, don't let anybody outside near it. We got to make sure it doesn't have a leak or something. So we need to don't go anywhere near it. Don't touch it. If it makes weird noises, don't touch it. We're gonna have the guy back out here at some point to check the levels and make sure there's not a leak.
And it was fucking fine.
I knew exactly what. Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah,
I knew exactly what was going on. And I was like, Jesse came over one day, and I was like, Jesse, don't go outside.
Don't touch the
Don't do
Freon,
it.
bro.
And he was like, but it's fun. And I was like, no, don't do it. My parents are like
You're
on
probably-
high alert right now. Don't fucking do it. Just stay inside. We'll watch movies. We'll hang out. It's all going to be cool. And he's like, all right. And so we were hanging out watching a movie. And he was like, I'm going to go get some. I'm hungry. I'm going to go get something to eat. And he got up, walked into the kitchen. I didn't think anything of it.
He went to get some Freon.
Yep. The stairs to go down to the basement to get to the back side of the house was right there, and I didn't even hear him walk down those fucking steps. And you could hear it from the entire house. You can hear somebody going up and down those steps. I didn't hear him. He was like ninja'd his ass down there.
Yeah, he
I thought he was
knew.
in the motherfucking kitchen.
Yeah.
At like 10 minutes later, he comes barreling up the fucking steps with a trash bag in his goddamn hand, and he's like, dude. Oh my god, your parents saw me! Like, because they were pulling up.
Yes! Yes!
He was
dude,
like,
no way!
No, dude, this gets better. He was on the other side of the air conditioning unit. They were driving up. They saw him. He took the trash bag, ran inside, and to like try to hide the trash bag, and sat down. And my parents came in and they were like, Jesse, what were you doing by the air conditioning unit? Have you been doing it? Have you been draining the air conditioning unit? And he was like, no. And they were like, we saw you there with the trash bag. And he was like, yeah, I heard a noise outside and I went out there and there was a guy with a trash bag, so I chased him off and I grabbed the trash bag and I was standing there and then I saw you guys pull up. And so I ran inside. And this dude tried to come up with a fucking story as to why he was outside with a trash bag at the fucking air conditioning unit.
Did they believe it?
Absolutely not.
Oh, no.
They
Parents
sent him
are
home. My mom told his parents what
Yeah.
he was doing. His parents neighborhood that I was like the ringleader for the kids doing drugs.
You were?
Yeah, that I was the ringleader, showing kids how to do fucking drugs in the cul-de-sac.
How did
in the
that get
neighborhood.
turned around on you?
Well, because Jesse's dad didn't want anybody to think that it was the Hispanic kids, because he was buying weed from them. So they started spreading it around that I was the one ringleading all the drug activity in the area. And my mom was like, are you fucking kidding me? He has long hair. He might look like a little pothead. He doesn't do any of that stuff. He just sits at home and plays fucking video games all day.
Yeah.
He doesn't have time to do drugs. He sleeps at fucking school. He plays video games from when the time he gets home to the time he goes to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning so he can wake up 2 hours later for the fucking bus. He doesn't do drugs.
God, dude. Dude, yeah, parents are too perceptive for that, man.
Yeah, no.
There's like very little you can get past parents when you're a kid.
And you think you can get away with that.
Oh,
shit
for
too.
sure.
You're like, I have all my bases covered. There's no eyes. There's no eyes in the skies. There's no fly in the ointment. Everything's going perfectly. And they'll still come around like the next day and be like, I know what you did. And it's like, fuck me.
Yeah,
like, you were at grandma's. There was no one home. There's no you don't have cameras. I checked everywhere. You don't have cameras.
Yeah, and they know.
Yeah, they know what you did.
There was one time I broke my own window to get my keys out of my car because I was in the wrong place and my keys got locked in the car. Yeah. So I broke my own window. And when I got home, I lied about it. And I was like, hey, I was at the mall. And someone broke into my car for my skateboard. Yeah. And I thought I was being slick. Mm-hmm. And the first thing my dad said was, well, why'd they break the small window? Why didn't they just break the big window to get it? And I was like, well, I don't know. Maybe they were just trying to make less noise or something. I don't know. And then he was like, maybe someone's just trying to break the small window because they didn't want to pay as much money to to fix it.
Instantly caught on.
And I was like, I don't know, man. I can't say. But he never he never said you fucking did it. I know you did, and you're just trying to cover up your shit. But he bought it, but my dad didn't believe me for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, parents are way too perceptive for that shit. Okay, so I'll tell you something. Kind of irrelevant, but I remember growing up. It's all irrelevant. Nothing. There's no point to any of this. But you guys can get a kick out of the story. There was one time. There was a girl I liked in fucking 8th grade or whatever, 7th grade maybe even, and I drew her. I remember lying to my friends, saying I had a girlfriend, I was dating her, she was amazing. Mm-hmm. I won't say her name because I still kind of know her. And I drew her naked, but I never saw her naked. I just lied to them and told them I did. Yeah. And I was like, she looks amazing, bro. I'll fucking draw her for you. Cause I've always been an artist. Yeah. Back then the drawing was terrible. So I drew I probably saw a Playboy magazine here and there, and that was about it. So I drew her naked, and they saw it, and I showed them, and they were like, whoa, no way. And I was like, yeah, that's what she looks like. And it looked nothing like any normal human would look like. And if they did, they'd be like a pog. You were like, what the fuck? Why are you shaped like that? So I put it in a Coca-Cola piggy bank. It was like a van. It was like a Coca-Cola van. You used a specific key to open the piggy bank, and I folded it so that it went in there.
Yeah.
Dude, weeks later, that shit was not in there. And I was like, well, maybe I put it in the other one. No, I spent several hours, one night, opening all of the different like car banks I had, and I was like, because like my dad decorated my room for me, which I never liked, and it was all race cars everywhere, and I had opened that up. I opened them all up. None of them had the girl in them, had the drawing of the lady, because I thought it'd be funny to show like somebody later, and I was like, bro, you gotta see the shit that I did. I'll tell you the story. I could not find that girl. I went back years later to find it. Still can't find that drawing.
So somebody's got a janky ass.
Somebody has a
drawing.
Yes, someone has a janky ass picture of a girl that doesn't exist. And I don't know if like maybe my dad at some point did it, or maybe one of the friends that I showed was like, "Damn, I got a fucking beat to that," and they stole the drawing somehow. But like.
Some Ocean 11, like
yes,
shit. Like,
you're like, how did he like plan that to get that out?
Back over to my house. They don't have this fucking key. How'd they get in here?
And I had only maybe showed that to them one time. I do remember one of the friends was like, "Bro, that's some beat material right there," but that was it. Oh man, strange.
Yeah.
What is this? What the fuck?
I've lost a lot of things like without knowing. It might be like, dude, it might be like some memory shit that I have, like, but I've legit, I have memories of playing video games, like games on my original Game Boy that I had, like playing the shit out of like specific games
that don't exist.
And then not losing them and not knowing where the game went. Yeah. And I'm like, where's this? When I start asking my parents or
do you know what the game is though?
I think one was like a Ninja Turtles game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I could think of one that I played a lot too.
One was I know these games exist. I know the Ninja Turtles game existed, and I know the Golden Sun, the first one. I love Golden Sun.
That's a big game.
I know those exist, and I know I had them, but like like I lost the game.
But a friend, like kids are so quick to steal shit, dude. I had shirts that kids would steal from me.
But my parents bought me these games, and my parents were anal about, like, they wouldn't let me take this shit to school. They knew exactly the shit I had. They knew. And my parents
have better memories. So if it went missing, they like, would be suspicious.
When they go missing, and I'm like, "Hey, have you seen my Golden Sun game, or have you seen my Ninja Turtles game?" They're like, "You don't have a game like that."
What like, the fuck? The parents didn't know about it?
Yeah, well, they would. Yeah, they're the ones who I have memories of. They bought me the game, and they're like, I'm like, "Hey, where's have you seen it? Like, if you were cleaning or anything, like, did you see my game?" And they're like, "You've never had that game. I remember you have like Wario World 2, you have fucking Little Green Soldiers and shit." Like, they'd like spout off games that I had. They're like,
"What the hell?
We know the games you have, you don't own this game." I'm like,
weird.
I used to stay up late playing that game. I know that game. I know the story of the fucking game. Why are you saying I don't own that game?
That's so weird.
And I have like that's why I say like I can't. It's so hard to trust my own memory because I'll make up memories and they feel so fucking real.
Yeah.
Like it feels so real, and when somebody tells you that it's not correct, it's like they're challenging your.
What's that called? That's like the Mandela effect, where they say like that one movie, that Genie movie, with Shaq or not Shaq, fucking that goofy dude. He's in Jingle All the Way. The guy who plays the mailman. He had a movie. Fuck, what is that guy's name? He's a comedian.
I know you're talking about. I can't think of his.
But he had a Genie movie, like Shazam or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
And he had a Genie movie. And everyone was like, "No, I fucking saw that movie." And it's not a real movie. I think Shaq is the one who's actually the genie in that movie that actually did exist at some point.
I'm gonna try to look it up.
But shit's fragile, dude. Did I ever tell you about the Post-it notes that I lost?
No.
So simple. I was cleaning when we were about to move out. I was like organizing this like file kind of cabinet I had that was full of like our like marriage license and stuff like that. And in like next to the file cabinet, was remember our glass table in the kitchen? I had a packet of Post-it notes. I just dropped the Post-it notes straight down on accident. Mm-hmm. Straight down. Post-it notes don't go anywhere, bro. My house was like, you remember the old house, the kitchen was pretty clean. There's like nothing on the ground. Nothing.
Yeah.
The Post-it notes fell through the fucking floor and disappeared from existence. And I like sat down. I looked all around on the ground right after I dropped them. Bent down to find them. Completely fucking gone. Mm-hmm. Completely gone. Did not exist anymore. And then like, I told Kaylee about it, and I was like, tell me. I told Jenna about it because she lived there too, and I was like, tell me I'm fucked up. There's no Post-it notes here. It was a whole fucking pack of Post-it notes unopened, and I like because I was like, oh, maybe I'll use these. Slipped. They fell out of my hand, fell through the floor, fucking gone forever. And I looked on the ground. I looked like in the cabinets. I looked all over the dining area. Nothing. And then they looked, nothing. I moved out, cleaned the entire fucking house. Kaylee asked me when we moved out, she goes, did you ever find those Post-it notes when you were cleaning the house? I said no, because they fucking disappeared from existence after that shit.
Jeez.
Shit's fragile, dude.
I am.
Like, just fell through space-time. Gone.
Yeah, so...
Where the fuck are those Post-it notes? Are they floating in infinite abyss somewhere else? In a plane? Like, there's gonna be some entity walking around who's like a wind element, and he's just fucking chilling, and he's like exploring the infinite universe that exists outside of this, like, you know, third dimension. And he's just like, hey, what are these... What? It's a fucking stack of Post-it notes! And he's gonna go like... Huh, interesting.
You know what's
These stick to things. I could maybe write a fucking little memo on these.
He finds a new use for it. It's just like, oh. Like it's
I could use this as a frisbee.
Yeah. There's something interesting in me and Ronnie play D&D. We both are dungeon masters. I use a campaign setting called Eberron, and in Eberron there's something called the Forgotten Prince. Mm-hmm. Who has his own demi-plane, and he, like, anytime anything goes missing, like items, it's actually plucked from him or some of his followers into his demi-plane, because he will take things that people don't appreciate or don't have any value to people that could have value to somebody else. So he'll take things. So if you're ever missing an item,
like fucking socks, like where's your other sock?
Yeah, you can go see if the Forgotten Prince has it.
That'd be so badass. And you go to him, and it's like a long wait. You got to make an appointment, and you go there, and you're like, hey, I just had to ask. I can't find this second Adidas sock that I have. Do you have it? He was like, you did not value that other sock.
Yeah.
You only valued the red ones, so I took one of the white ones.
Yeah, to show you a lesson on, like, how...
Can I have it back? I recently got a shirt that matches it. You must do this task for me, and then I will give you the other sock.
Hell yeah, bro.
It's okay. I'll just pay $6 for some new ones at Ross.
I had a... So, I was
Did you implement that into the game? Because I like that.
I haven't implemented.
I just like I like the idea of there being a guy somewhere else who picks up lost shit. I lose shit. Think about all the fucking chapsticks I lose. That's where they all are.
He does lose a lot of chapstick. Every time. Almost. Sorry, not every time. That's a bit hyperbolic. Maybe every other time, to be conservative, that I come over to this house, he is vehemently, like, just set on searching for his chapstick. He'll be like, all right, the game's done. You all get this much experience.
Where the fuck is my...
Yeah, we're gonna go to bed. And then, like, for the next 15 minutes, he's stomping around. Dude, bro, where's my fucking chapstick, bro? It was right here.
Dude, sometimes the dogs will get them though. Then I'll see. There was recently a time where I lost a chapstick for a long time. I was like, motherfucker. And then Kaylee called me and was like, hey, Frodo got your chapstick. I found it underneath the table. He ate it entirely. I was like, son of a bitch. He recently ate one like a little while ago. That was like a $4 little chapstick. I was like, fuck.
$4 worth of chapstick.
You see his I had that clear D20 I got up there. It's a $4 D20. After I glued it together, because it's a container for other dice.
Yeah.
When I put it because I was like, oh, and it has sides on it with like numbers. I'll show you in a sec. When it has a lid, and the lid makes it like a perfect D20, and it rolls normal. And I was like, dude, I'll glue it down with like a little bit of super glue, and we'll use that as like a special D20. After I glued it, it fucking got a chemical reaction happened, and you can see the fingerprints on the inside of the fucking D20. So it's a cloudy ass D20. It's not even like normal cloud. It's, you see fingerprints on the inside.
Yeah.
And now that it's glued, I can't open it.
Is that one of the ones that?
Yeah.
So, there, I know of. I saw a D20 when I was shopping on Amazon, or I was watching somebody.
Look at these fucking little fingerprints. Son of a bitch. Look at all those fingerprints in there. I didn't do that. That's so infuriating because it looks fine right there, and then you twist it around and fucking punch all the little white ones. I'm like, what the hell?
I was either shopping or watching somebody on YouTube who talks about Dungeon Master stuff and D&D lore and whatnot. I'm really into that shit. But I saw a dice that you can use for advantage or disadvantage. And it's pretty much a big clear D20 with a smaller D20 inside of it, and you shake it up and roll the whole thing, and you get the top. So like you get the big roll with the big dice, and then the little dice inside is also rolled. So you have 2 D20 rolled with one roll.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. I would never use it. I use digital dice. I'm a heathen to like my fiance and everybody else that we play with, because they all use physical dice, but I don't want to cart that shit around. I use and so
well, I live here. Master. We D&D here, so I live here. It's like no big deal.
Yeah,
and you got me the metal ones, and I gotta use them. They're so nice. I gotta use. And Frodo, I almost hit Frodo in the head with that the other day.
That would have been like a comet. Like
that would have hurt so bad, and they're kind of sharp too.
Yeah, dude, and dense as shit.
Yeah, they're like little falling stars, dude. Yeah. I understand why you use, and I think about using it too for like the random shit.
Yeah.
But there's something a little like within your control about like rolling it. You're like, come on, bro, here we go, and you roll it, and it's a 6, and you're like, great.
My main issue is DMing. You have to roll so many fucking dice, and I don't want to be picking through all the time and like grabbing those dice, and it's so much more convenient when I'm like, all right, I need to roll like
you don't have to do the math.
D8.
Yeah. I always have to do the math. I'm like writing it down or like doing it in my head. Now I use Google, where I'm like dice roller, and then it'll be a bunch, and I just use Google's, and I'm just like, how many? 12 D6? Click until it's like all of them, and I'm like, damn.
It tells you the total and everything.
68 damage. That's fucked. That took a lot.
And I love my homebrew shit. I love it. So I use like wild magic, magic surge tables and whatnot that people have made for like random effects. I have this hag who owns an apothecary. I think the girls are screaming in the background.
Yeah, I'm curious what's going on.
Yeah, they laugh so well. My fiance especially laughs very boisterously. She cackles.
She's the one in the Eggs Benedict video with the pink hair. In that video, my wife didn't have purple hair at the time.
I'm also the one in that video with the pink hair.
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah. Yeah, it's a pink couple.
What was I saying? Oh, there's a hag. And she owns an apothecary, and so she gives everybody who comes up and signs up for it a sending stone, and so they can use it in as many times as they want to. Really, it's really just to keep people from going into town and just potion shopping for like 2 hours. I just like in the heat of battle, even like you whip out, use an action to talk into the sending stone and be like, I need like 7 health potions here. And I even play that when the players walk into the shop the first time, like she's talking to them and she'll just randomly stop and like activate a sending stone, and you'll just hear like a battle going in the background, like oh my god, there's so much blood, we need help, and she'll just like nonchalantly just be like pulling off some potions, stick it in a Galder's Speedy Courier, I think it is, or it's one of those.
It's like USPS, but real. Yeah, it's a magical and quick as fuck.
Pops up and you put stuff in it, and it pops up in front of them.
Yeah, you don't have to wait 4 weeks for delivery.
Yeah, and she'll just like, she'll do something quirky, like she'll just like pull like, oh, health potion, giant strength potion, and what's the most expensive thing I got here? And just like stick that in there as well, and she'll make them pay for it. But I use to make it a little bit more fun, that every potion comes with a side effect. Every single one.
Oh, that's the lady?
Yeah. And so in the last battle my people had, they're fighting a death tyrant, and one of them drank a potion. I rolled on the wild magic table that somebody had made, and it turned them into a potted plant until the beginning of their next turn.
Oh, that's amazing. That's so good.
She drank it, popped into a potted plant for until the beginning of her next. She didn't know it was until the beginning of her next turn. I just said, you poof into a potted plant, you get your health, sure, but you're a potted plant right now.
What flower was it, or was it what plant was it?
I just said it was like, you're just a tiny little flower in a potted plant.
Yeah.
But that shit's so fun to me.
Yeah.
Like,
that's so good. That's a good one.
Yeah.
You gave me the one that was like. There was a good one. The feet, and it was like your feet get like really big, but then like nothing changes really, but you just walk really funny.
Yeah, like you get to heal like normal. I think the one that I had made was like, instead of the greater health potion doing 4d4 plus 4, it was 64 plus 4, but your feet just kind of hurt for like an hour. Like, they hurt.
What made me think of like that potion the other day was I was taking a shit on the toilet. We're coming full circle with the shit talk. I was taking a dump the other day, and I realized that I lean on my left side like to shit, instead of like full on sitting normal, like relaxing, I guess. I'll lean over a little, and in doing so I was on the toilet for like fucking 15 minutes as usual, and so I'm like sitting down, and my fucking foot fell asleep. And they're calling me at work on the microphone, and they're like, you gotta, we need you. Can you come back out here? And I'm like, fuck. So I'm done pooping. I kind of was already. Yeah. And I like, wipe up. But my whole fucking left foot was completely asleep. And I was like, and I never like experienced that for more than like a second or two. Dude, it lasted like 2 or 3 minutes, and I was like, and I'm like washing my hands like, and I like come outside, and I'm like, hey, how can I help you? And my foot's like completely fucking asleep.
Like you go to take a shit, and then you just start limping back to the register afterwards, and they're like, what happened in there?
It was rough.
Yeah, it was rough.
Most of my poops are. My 11:30 poops, my usually poops, are usually pretty rough.
I don't want to talk about it.
It was hell. Okay. The one more thing I wanted to talk about, because this is kind of a long one, because it's already almost an hour, or probably already an hour, but
who knows, man.
Was a thing about feeling like alone, because you were talking about D&D, right? And you're like really into Eberron, specifically Eberron.
Yeah.
Which is like its own D&D world. Imagine like Earth as it is now, but if there was like a whole nother universe entirely, like Harry Potter. People know Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. Those are their own universes, Tolkien's universe or Rowling's universe or whatever. This is like another universe, and you are specifically excited about that. Mm-hmm. But like, even me personally, like I'm super into D&D.
Yeah.
I don't know shit about Eberron. So, like, I can appreciate what you're talking about, and I'll listen to you, but I have no idea about Eberron without buying a book or doing a PDF or doing, like, YouTube research or whatever.
Yeah, but there's not that much on YouTube about it.
You, like, kind of understand the whole feeling I was trying to portray earlier tonight about feeling like you're totally alone. That, like, do you feel, like, a sense of loneliness out of knowing something that nobody gives a damn about, or
Yeah.
like a thing, like, you know, so much about something, like you have like a whole fucking like book's worth or more, and I have like fucking 15. They're all right there on the
Yeah,
shelf. I got like
Dragonlance.
15 fucking books in my head that I can't talk about to people, and I talk about it to my wife or whatever, or my friends like you, but it's like disheartening, or like,
Yeah.
it makes you feel so lonely.
It's a whole wealth of knowledge that you have on something
Yeah.
that just no one cares about.
And
Like,
it sucks.
unless you bring it to their attention, like nobody will ever bring that up. Like, hey,
No.
man, you know what? This is like that thing in Dragonlance. You know, where Tasselhoff takes
And you'd
the
be like, what?
puts on the ring, turns into a rat. You know, whatever he does.
He really does that.
Yeah. No,
In
you
Time
know,
of
when he
the
does that,
Twins, he
this
does.
situation's kind of like that, and you're like, oh damn, no, actually, you know what? This is a little bit analogous to like a different situation that happened. Nothing's ever like that.
No.
I mean, it can happen with like Harry Potter because it's so widely known.
Yes, exactly. This book is 40 years old.
Yeah.
And with D&D, it gets more obscure.
Yeah,
because one,
there's a whole
you
Dragonlance
rarely,
setting.
you never get anybody, and not just for me, but for you too, that not a lot of people play D&D 1, and it's a bit more popular than it has been in the past like 15 years,
thinking
because
about
no
it.
one's dying from it. Because that one fucking guy had to murder somebody because he thought he was a fucking axe wielder.
Yeah.
So now that it's more popular and less shamed, and like being a dork is kind of a cool thing now, that like it's more acceptable. But even then,
Yeah.
Eberron is still not the Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
the Forgotten Realms is like the thing that everyone like calls back to, and that's where most things come out of. Eberron is like a whole nother parallel. Kryn for the Dragonlance world is another parallel.
Yeah.
But neither are popular.
Yeah.
So like it kind of sucks that we're both like excited about like these universes that no one gives a shit about. Like think about Rowling when she was writing Harry Potter. It's like, wow, like I love this like thing I've made. How do I get someone inspired about that? I gotta fucking write a whole series about it, publish these books, and people get excited. And so like, you know, now she's probably annoyed to hear anyone talk about Harry Potter to her, but
It's like, oh yeah, you know Harry Potter, huh?
Yeah,
Oh,
like-
you know what house it would be?
yeah. Yeah, that's so good.
I am totally a Hufflepuff. It's like, oh great,
I'm
you
sure
know
you
you're
are.
a Hufflepuff.
I'm
huh?
sure you fucking are. Yeah, whatever. And like, you know, blow it off. But
You know what it really means to be a Hufflepuff? Oh no, tell me.
you know who's
Good
actually
God.
totally a perfect Slytherin? It's like, oh God, shut the fuck up. I'm sure she's tapped out. But I wish that like we could be enthusiastic about these things to strangers.
Yeah, I
Or,
wish
like-
they would it's something. So in Eberron, there's so normally in D&D, you come across a band of goblins. You know shit's gonna turn bloody. You just know it, and so you're on the offensive right away. Bugbears, even owl bears, really. Like any of that kind of stuff, any kind of goblinoid, anything like that. You see it, and you're like, here we go. Get your blades out, fucking drop them. But in Eberron, I have to like stop players like when we first start playing and be like, this is not usual. Like goblins and goblinoids live in perfectly peaceful tribal societies a lot of the time. They have their own traditions and stuff. Yeah, it may seem a little barbaric, but they are totally able to live with you, live alongside anybody in normal civilization.
Yeah, Lance is actually kind of similar to that. Like
Yeah.
in the fucking Kryn world, there's a lot of like the goblins are kind of like integrated. They're ugly as fuck, but like someone might hire a whole bunch of goblins to do normal shit. It's just shit they don't want to do. That's like, and they'll do it. It's like paying somebody 15 cents an hour to sew a t-shirt. You're like, they'll do it, and those people are normal, but they're just willing to fucking do shitty work for less. So like you fucking hire a goblin to do whatever, you know?
Yeah. In Eberron, there's also like there's a place called Droam. It's monsters. So you think gargoyles, Medusa, fucking kobolds, gnolls, everything that you would just be raring to attack because you think they're gonna jump the next merchant like caravan that rolls by. They're living in just a perfectly normal, well, I say perfectly normal, but it's more like a feudal society where things are a bit rough, but it's still a society. They live there. They can work alongside everybody. But this side thing that I love so much, Eberron, like I know all this stuff about it. And if I were to jump into somebody's Forgotten Realms campaign, or Faerun even, it would be hard. I would probably be like, do we have to attack these goblins? Like, maybe we can reason with them.
But then they wouldn't.
Yeah,
normal.
Like,
yeah.
It's like, bro, they're goblins.
It's like seeing
Just
a cockroach.
'em.
You're like, kill the cockroach. We don't think twice about that type of thing.
Yeah.
It's like kill a cockroach. But I guess in another universe, if a cockroach was like a fucking like seeing like in a what's a good example? Like I was gonna think of an animal.
Like
a cat. If it was like a cat in that regard, I was gonna say like a totally different animal that I can't remember now. But
frog.
no, I was thinking of the one that like curls up on itself and is like a roly poly. But
an armadillo.
An armadillo. Yeah, because you wouldn't kill a fucking armadillo if it was in your house. You'd be like, oh my god, it's an armadillo.
I don't know. We live in Texas, dude. I think if they saw an armadillo in their house, they'd drive a truck through the wall to run it over. There's armadillos all over the highways and shit.
You could pick up an armadillo, though. You could, like, without fear, pick up an armadillo. I may not, but I might. Like, it's an armadillo. It's not going to curl its head back and bite you. And it's, they're silly. But
different worlds. And it's
different worlds. Like
nobody knows anything about them.
In our world, we kill cockroaches because we know they multiply. They're really fucking bad. They're a fucking problem. Just like you said with your friend, like they had like 1 million of them. If they didn't have cockroaches, they would probably live better.
Cockroaches, I think, are really bad about. They can cause a lot of allergy issues with people.
Ew.
Yeah, just from like. I think it's them shitting everywhere and stuff.
That's gross.
Like getting into things, they can cause.
Ants are bad too in that way. Like I feel for ants. I know they're like fucking amazing. They lift like a ton of more weight than they actually are. But the fact that they multiply so quickly, they like are so unified. They're pests. They're really bad for like your personal survival too. So you got to get rid of them, or like do whatever you can. But you can't just relocate fucking ants. You got to take them all out. It's really unfair, but life's unfair.
But imagine living in a world where ants were pretty reasonable, and you could
exactly. Thank you for bringing it full circle.
They might be being pests right now, but it's not because they're trying to be malicious. It's
they're hungry,
and you could talk to them, just be like, "Hey, man, we need to come to some kind of compromise to get you out of here." And that's what it's like with in Eberron, where when you want to deal with pesky goblins, you just reason with them. They're not all going to be amenable to any solutions you come up with, or being relocated for that matter. But like your chances of dealing with them are a lot better. But that's like something that I have to go out of my way to bring up. There's also like the idea of like dragon marks in Eberron and stuff, and that's nowhere else. And I can't. It's hard to like talk about it without revealing absolutely everything about your world. Like I don't have a player's handbook to get my players ready for Eberron. I mean, I could probably work on one.
There's not a physical copy of one?
No. Well, there might be for some of the earlier editions. I haven't gotten any, and even if there were some for earlier editions, I wouldn't get them because then it's just going to cause a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
Because we play in 5e.
Yeah,
we play loosely based around 5e.
If you play anything before it like fucks everything up because they have stats that don't make shit of sense. You're like, what is this?
I was running a dungeon last time for my players, and I use a tool, Donjon, that
Oh, what the fuck?
truck moving outside.
I thought it was coming from inside the house.
I know. I thought it was like a little heater kicked on. Or
I thought it was a vacuum or something. Yeah.
But there's a tool I use, Donjon, and to create little dungeons and stuff for the
not the movie about porn that came out like a long time ago.
But it bases it around 3.5, and so it pulled a monster in. I have a level 16 party. It pulled a monster in to hunt the party, and it was a greater stone golem. That thing had like plus 42 to hit. I had to like mess around with the roll. Like it was a huge creature. It had plus 42 to hit for its stuff.
Which is a fucking lot, guys.
Amounts.
Yeah.
Like there's no way.
Like a dragon's like plus fucking 16, you
Yeah,
know, to 18 to 20 maybe. That's about it.
Translating that, I don't even know how to translate 3.5 to 5e completely.
Yeah.
I have to kind of wing it and like go with my best guess. Like, what's an analogous creature to this? That
Yeah, that's
like,
what it's
do
like
they
to have those Lance books because
Yeah.
it's fucking 40 years old.
Yeah, and it's hard to move on into the newer campaigns. I forgot what I was talking about. But
The Golem.
if so, oh right, so if there were like 3.5 like player handbooks for players hand guides to Everon or whatever, I wouldn't want them to read it because it's going to get really convoluted.
Yeah.
But like explaining the different Dragon Mark houses, the way that the world works, how it's a hub between all these different worlds, that there's a constant ring in the sky because there's a ring around the planet, and that you can see like during the night and day, and there's 12 moons, but you can only really ever see like 11 of them, but there were 13 and you could see 12, but one got destroyed or lost or whatever, depending on how you want to run your game. How there's dragons, but they've all walled themselves off in a different continent, and you're not allowed over there. How there's rainforest to the south on a continent. No matter how well you can traverse, like how well you can read a map, you'll never take the same path and twice and end up in the same spot. Like there's the gods aren't really gods; they're more concepts. Like that permeate, and you kind of, your belief in them gives you the divinity from them, but there's not really a god being behind any of the religions that are like actually reaching down and talking to you or anything. It's like there's a lot of ground you have to cover, or that I have to cover explaining these things to get, but it's to get everything across so they can play immersed in the world without like me having to stop every like 5 minutes to say, hey, oh yeah, this is how this works in the world. It's difficult to have such knowledge of something that just nobody cares enough about to read about. And I've read the Dark Tower series by Stephen King.
Yeah,
that shit's so good. I love that entire universe, but like people don't understand. When the Dark Tower movie came out, people had read
killed it. Fuck yeah, it was like nowhere like the actual books.
Yeah, it wasn't, but there's a reason for that. There's a reason why it worked, and nobody understood it because nobody's read all the way through. Like there's at the time it was written in the second book, there's two characters that come through. One of the characters was an African American that had a lot of animosity towards the main character because he was white. Because of all racial relations at the time where she lived in. And then another character that fell in love with her who was also white, and he came from like a crime background. His stuff doesn't matter as much though. But that's so when they made the movie, and they cast Idris Elba.
Yeah, he's the black guy in it. Yeah.
How are you gonna? So you're not gonna have Susanna in there. You're not going to have Odetta or Detta in there. Like, what? Is she going to be mad at him because he's black now? And it's like, well, no. You guys didn't read the entirety of the book. That stuff doesn't have to happen. The movie can coexist. The movie can be an extension of the end of the last book, and it be completely non-contradictory.
Really?
Yeah. You have to just read the whole thing. But it's so the first book is really rough to get through. That was some young Stephen King stuff, and I love Stephen King's works, but some of that earlier book was weird. The second one gets so much better, and then from the second on is like great. You can just roll right through them. They're great books. I love them.
Yeah.
It gets a little convoluted at times, but that's because they're dealing with multiple dimensions and
I had a friend who kind of explained like the generalities of it. Yeah, with like the crab biting his finger off and all that. Yeah.
And at the end of the books, you realize this entire story that you've read, all 8 books, not counting any of the other ones.
Oh, yeah.
All 8 books that you've read are just one possibility of this story. This isn't the beginning, and this isn't the end.
Because isn't it in the Dark Tower? Isn't it like the there's the one guy, like he's like a red. He's like in a red
Crimson King.
Yeah, he's badass, and he's like kind of like the DM almost.
Well, so he's like incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
So the main being, if memory serves me correctly, is Ka. They just call it Ka. It's like fate. When you get to the tower is all things, all possibilities. If you get in there, you're like, you make it to the top room. You can change reality. You can go back, change an event. You can become God, essentially. But he gets into the tower. He sacrifices everything and everyone that helped him along. It's like a story of, you're so overzealous about everything, and you think so highly of yourself that you're willing to sacrifice everybody and anybody who comes along your path, no matter how much you love them.
Yeah, for your goal.
For your goal.
Yeah.
An infinite amount of times. He gets up in there, and they're like, they start showing him things from his life, and they're like, "Hey, you've loved this before. Let me show you. You've collapsing all realities upon you that you've existed in, all the timelines where you've done things, and then, but you won't remember. You won't be able to help yourself. You won't remember." And you'll never get this right. It's just you. It's your character. You'll never be able to solve this because you're Roland Deschain. You're this person. This is the way you act all the time. And I'm going to send you back, and I'm going to change one little thing about it. And it'll still, just to prove to you that even through the entire butterfly effect, you will still come to the same conclusion.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it like plays out to me is, at the end of the book, after it's like he goes insane because he realizes all this stuff, and he's like, no, like, no, you can't do this to me again. I need to go back so I can fix everything. And they're like, all right, and they erase it off from his head, and they start him. The ending of the last book is the beginning of the first book, but with one little detail changed, and that's it. Like it plays out the exact same way, except he's holding the Horn of Jericho, I think it's called, that he had left at a previous battle when he was younger. So it starts off at the same opening of the first book, but he's holding the Horn of Jericho, and so it just shows that like I'll change one little thing, and it'll just go to show it'll always be the same.
Yeah.
And that's what the movie's kind of like too. Like the movie could be that little thing had changed. He's African American, or it doesn't even have to be that. You
because
go
he
about
originally
it
wasn't
way.
right. He's just like
he was a white dude.
just a white gunslinger, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I have no qualms. I like people started complaining about that when the movie came.
But
I loved
you
it.
understood the series where that was possible
Yes.
because of the fate thing.
Yeah, and I had read all that stuff, and no one cares to read all of it.
Yeah.
But they're quick to cast judgment on it, which is kind of aggravating. But when I talk about it to anybody, it's
when I saw it, I knew it wasn't the way the series was supposed to be, but that was about it. Where I was like, well, I know that's like not the way it is. They must have changed like some drastic shit, but I didn't know that that's how it ended.
Yeah, but that's got to be like what it would be like. So if somebody made or even playing with us with all your knowledge on the Dragonlance universe, like we're playing and we say something that's like, oh man, this is kind of weird. This isn't the way it's supposed to be, and you're like, bitch, yeah, it is. This is the well, you haven't read all the books. Okay, you don't know. Sorry, you don't know.
Yeah, right.
And then you have to make a choice. You have to either explain everything to us, which I'd be fine with because I know that I can empathize with that, or give us like a quick thing and be like, nope, you're wrong, just move on. And it kind of sucks that you have this knowledge and nobody else has like went about gaining this knowledge about this as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember when I was first introduced to it, I saw all of the books together, and I was like, fuck. And I'm a shitty reader anyways.
Yeah.
And I stopped after that for years. I didn't read any book after that. I read like halfway through Dragons of Autumn Twilight, and I was like, I'm really confused because like it was hard for me to balance all the characters. I was like bouncing around all these different personalities, so it was kind of tough. But then like, you know, when I got older, I was able to like kind of do the whole balance thing, you know.
Yeah.
That whole thing with the Dark Tower where he reveals all the possibilities. That's in the Matrix as well. In the Matrix 2 in Revolutions, he is that what the second one is? Yeah, I think so. And he shows now I'm like not 100% sure that's what that is. Reloaded. Yeah, the Matrix Reloaded. He goes to the keymaker, and at the end it's like this dude with like a little white beard, you know, and he tells him, done this.
Yeah.
You've done this 1,000 times. Mm-hmm. He's like, there's nothing special about you. Like, you are Neo, you are the one, but you're not the one. You've done this hundreds of times and you've failed. He's like, you're gonna fail again. This whole thing is gonna start over. You're like, you know, when you fail, and you will, we will come back to this point and all of life will begin and it will end with you again. He's like, you fucked up. You will fuck up again. It's like the same Dark Tower thing.
Yeah.
Which is cool. They probably got it from the same thing, and the brothers are really into comics. So, and I know the Dark Tower is like huge in like kind of the comic world.
Dark Tower series is runs back like I want to say 30-ish years.
Yeah, I think so.
All the way back to the beginning. But I honestly really like the concept of that.
I don't like the idea of something being a dream, but I like the idea of kind of starting over.
I like, so I would, this isn't to say I would like to be in this situation, but it's a story element that isn't explained all the time, where it's like, you go through an entire story, a hero's story. They're overcoming things. They're getting to this. They need to get to the end to fulfill a valiant goal, to enact some sort of justice. And they get to the end and it's like, bruh. Like, you still haven't understood.
Yeah.
You've done this 1,000,000 times.
Yeah, I don't think that's super fulfilling to people because we are huge. We're huge on
goals,
completing. Yeah, like getting to the end of something. I'm finally not tipsy anymore, by the way. I finally feel normal.
Burned it all out.
Yeah. But I like the idea, and the thing is that that's why we often don't like the ending to things.
Yeah. I know that.
Like Dexter. You seen Dexter?
Oh, yeah.
The ending to Dexter.
You want to know what happens after.
Yeah, you want it to be resolved, and there's not a resolve.
Yeah.
And there's a kind of a cliffhanger. Yeah. People hate that. And I don't think that's always a bad thing, but it does. It's kind of like taken in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where they don't get Prince Charming at the end, or they don't get the princess at the top of the tower or whatever.
It takes away the wrap up of the end.
Yeah.
So you don't want it when you're reading a long series and you're really engrossed in it. You don't want the ending to come because you're like, that's it. There's not going to be any more of this beautiful story that I love
really
so
is
much.
Like that. When I finished the Lance series, it was exactly the same way. Tasselhoff tells his like wrap up, and then like, you know, when he is dead and he's at the end, which was hard to read because he's my favorite character, and I was like, God. And I closed the book. I think I was sitting right here with Kaylee, and I was like, that's it. I just finished it, and that was brutal. Like, it was sad. It was a sad ending.
Yeah, but I can find.
It's sad to like finish something off.
Yeah, it's sad to finish things off, but like things like that, like the Matrix and the end of the Dark Tower, where it explores a concept that I really enjoy. It leaves me with some like food for thought, pretty much, where I can continue to like think about it for a long time. It's not just he gets up to the tower, he finishes, he goes back in time, he fixes the problem that happened, and everything lives happily ever after. It's damn. So this has been happening. It's happened before. I just witnessed one iteration of it happening, and it's going to continue to happen into the future.
Yeah, in his case, I like the idea that he's like, he hasn't made the right, like the...
Yeah, and
he hasn't learned his like incarnative lesson, where he's like, dude, I keep doing this to you as a fucking person to like stop resisting, you know, change. You have to let something go.
But you're so stubborn, you'll never learn. And I know you'll never learn, and I'm going to prove it to you. I have infinite amounts of time, and I'm going to imbue that into you, just so you can every single time get up to the top of this tower and go insane with the knowledge that every single time you have tried it and done anything different,
it's like kind of like Groundhog Day. Have you seen yeah, you did watch Supernatural. Have you seen the episode where Sam is being brought back over and over with Dean?
Yeah,
that's like kind of a brutal episode.
It is. It's also super fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it is.
But I love it.
But it's like it's the same thing where like Sam is trying to prevent Dean from dying, and he's like does everything he can, and Sam kind of goes insane, and he's like, I give up, like I don't know what the fuck to do, like what do you want from me? And the lesson is to stop being so codependent. And he's like, you don't need Dean, you have to like allow him to die to fulfill the prophecy. And he was like, I can't do that, and he like refuses to believe it. And then when the cycle ends, he's like kind of so fucked up, like, I don't know if this is really like fucking real or reality or whatever.
And it leads me to think like, what, so the being at the end of the Dark Tower, or the one at the end of the Matrix Reloaded, that you, so would it be something like that? What are they trying to imply? That everything has an end, you need to let it come to an end. This is your own torture that you're putting yourself through, and until you realize that you're gonna continue to be in torture, you're gonna continue to be in this pain, struggle, and you need to come to terms with there's nothing you can do. You need to let this happen.
It's like a lack of control, especially for change, like something like that. That's like what is his name? What are they screaming? They're probably playing. They might be playing that one game, Fall Guys or whatever. Because she's like getting really excited.
They scream about everything. They could be watching videos.
It sounds like they're playing a game or something.
Yep.
But there's what is his name? A fucking amazing guy. Alan Watts. And Alan Watts depicts death as, I love this, and he depicts death as like a flowing river, and he's like, you are standing in the water, and the water is rushing past you, and he's like, yeah, you stand in the middle, and you like let the current flow, and you resist it, and you're moving against the stream, and he was like, you'll always be resisting it, and the force is like pulling you away, and he was like, the only way you can be at rest, to be at peace, is to stop resisting the stream and go with it, and you'll be there and you'll be at rest. And that is like the meaning of life, or like of death, you know. He's like, memento mori, be mindful of death. He is more poetic than that, but that's his speech on death. It's so good. He talks a lot about death, but he's fucking amazing in that regard, where it's like you have to like not resist the change, and you have to be willing to like move on. There was there's something amazing that I heard Mike Tyson say this morning, where he was said,
oh really?
Yeah, 'cause I was kind of random.
That's a sentence I never thought I'd heard. There's something really like
but he said if you knew yourself, you would be very limited. And he said if you knew yourself, you would be very limited. And he said, and he goes in depth talking about like, if you were you, like especially me, not especially, but I know me the best. So if I were me now, and I was me when I was 16, then I wouldn't just do exactly what I had to do to get right where I am right now, you know, or do it better? Like, I would save more money. I'd be ready to move out. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't have gone to jail like forever ago. I wouldn't have done some dumb old shit when I was like, 19 years old or whatever, or would I have? But I didn't know myself. You have to be able to make mistakes and move on from them and grow from them, use them as catalyst or whatever to be like the person you are destined to be or develop to be. But if you knew yourself, you'd be super fucking limited. You got to be able to learn from your mistakes and move on and grow as a fucking human, or whoever.
I think one issue I've come to over the past like year, 2 years maybe, that there's a dog. One thing I've come to adopt to sorry, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. Further back than that, I knew when I was like 19, I thought about I was in a really shitty place in life for a long time, but back then I was like, if I knew I would be here, if I could go back, I would do so many things different. I would have paid more attention in school, not because I think I need it, but because would have done better. I would have completed high school. I dropped out and got my GED. I went to night school to fast track, and then we had to move, and I had to go get my GED when I turned 18.
But at least you got it.
Yeah, it was so easy. Stay in school though.
Yeah, it's boring as fuck. But I graduated high school. I mean,
yeah,
I think it probably looks better on like a resume. I don't know.
It for sure does. And I would have like gone to college and stuff. Like I would have done better in school.
But you think you would, if you went back, you would change?
No. Well, so here's the thing. There's two variations on this.
Okay.
I'm a determinist, so I think if I were to go back to that time without my experiences now, the variables of my existence now changing it, if I were to just reset back to that time, I think I would have done everything exactly the same.
I think I would have too, yeah.
It would have all turned out the exact same way. I would be right back here talking to you in this microphone about how I fucked up my life.
I think if I did know, I still would probably... I think I would... Because, like, I like who I am. In fact, I love who I am. Like, currently, everything I believe, I think is sound. I think... Currently, and the 10 years from now, I might be like, what a fucking idiot.
If we're back talking about this stuff again, we'll see. We can argue about it, but
but like I think I would do this. I think I would do all this shit the same. Even if I had the choice, I think I would do it anyways because I like who I am, and I would take the beating from my parents. I would go through all the fucking hell I went with the divorces and then the split up with my parents the second time. And gone through like the hell of like the 4 years with my parents and how rough that was just to be where I am now. Well, I think I would do that even if it was a choice. Instead of
enduring all that stuff to be the person you are now, you don't think there's any other choice not even a single choice you would have made that would have set you on a different path to where like you could still be here talking and you would be the same kind of person you are now, but maybe you weren't working where you are and instead you had like you started saving or something when you were younger so that you could have like an art gallery or something now.
I don't know. You think
like you knew where you were going to end up now, and you knew like, hey, this is something that I would really like to have right now. If I back then would have started saving, I would have worked, I would have
yeah. But you're saying if I did that, I would still end up here?
Well, I'm saying, do you think if you were to go back with the knowledge you have now, all the life experiences you have now, even though you love your life, you love yourself the way you are now, do you think instead of just enduring everything you went through again, do you think there are any small changes you would have made that could have blown up into bigger changes now?
Yeah, like maybe like I would have like started like a fucking savings, but like
that's the kind of thing we're talking about.
Maybe, but to be honest, man, like through all the hell that I went through as a kid, as a like 10 years back, as a teenager, the terrible things that I went through, the parallel good things that I went through, and even like the very interesting crazy things that I went through as a kid are like so, I don't know, they're like so like milestone to who I am, that like I would like those things to happen again almost. Because even if like one night was, or many nights were spent crying and being in like some personal torture, I would want that again.
It was part of what made you.
Fuck yeah. So like if I was backseat, that would be better, so I didn't change those things. But if I was like in the conscious seat, I don't think it would require amazing undoable what's the word, discipline. You would need like insane discipline to not change anything. So I think your question is answered with the inevitability of change. So if you did go back with knowledge, that's like that's like knowing that that's like going back knowing Hitler was the killer and being like, okay, don't talk about Hitler being growing up to be a killer.
Because you don't want to send off like this this different chain of events that's going to happen. That's going to
yeah,
lead to a
but
different
don't you think
outcome.
you would maybe let it? It might slip because it's kind of a big fucking
If you
deal.
went back and you knew,
Yeah.
like if you were to take the person you are now and just shift it back in time and
Fuck.
pop yourself, like you just woke up tomorrow and fucking
I would ask a lot of questions.
2000.
And unfortunately, I think the big thing
your
is
little baby
that
body.
I had. I guess I can't talk about too much, but I had a lot of opportunities to ask a lot of questions for things that required answers, and back then I didn't know what questions to ask, and I should have been asking less selfish questions, and I should have been asking a little more creative questions and like more about, the world that I know currently now. But I didn't, and I was a fucking goofball kid who skateboarded every fucking day, so I didn't give a damn.
Yeah.
I didn't smoke weed or anything either back then either. So I was just one big fucking... Yeah, that doesn't mean anything. But there's a bunch of stuff I didn't do back then that I did later on in life or do now, and I think it would be hard to avoid those things.
Yeah.
So I think in the way the determinist would be is like, I'm going to change. If I go back as a changed person, I'm changing no matter what.
Yeah. As from my point of view, the only way that the determinism plays out is if you run say you run the call it a simulation.
Yeah.
The easiest way to do it, to plug in all the variables the exact same way and run the simulation. If you change any of the variables, it's going to change the outcome of the thing entirely.
Yeah.
But I think that if we were to shift back, if me and you were to just rewind the clock, turn all the variables back, just turn that dial back till the beginning of the day would have played out the exact same way. If we didn't have any different variables at the beginning of the day, it would turn out the exact same. And that's the only thing that I think. If we were to go back now with the variables we have now in our lives to the beginning of the day would have turned out differently.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, change would be inevitable.
Yeah, it would have to be.
Because you would be conscious.
Yeah.
You'd be way more conscious. And I would also, dude, honestly, I think I'd be way more fearless.
Yeah, we wouldn't even have gone to fucking Cheddar's today. We would have been like, dude,
Dude, it was good,
ate
though.
Cheddar's. Let's go to somewhere else, man.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Okay. Because you've already technically had the experience.
Yeah, you've had those variables
So
already.
do you kind of feel like that, though? Where you've done that before. You've done X before, so you don't do X. You do Y. So you're like...
Sometimes.
do you ever, what's the example? Watch a movie. So you think about watching a movie, but you've already watched the movie. So when you think about putting it in, you don't put it in because you've already, in that moment, instantly watched the movie, and you don't watch that movie, you watch something else.
Well, no. So I would want to get... So if I think about watching the movie, I'm not going to play the movie out in my head because I've already seen it all, and then that gives me the experience watching the movie again and experiencing that sensory input again. I would watch the movie because the variables up to that point have kind of led me into the next step is watching this movie, because everything's leading up to it. Maybe I've been seeing a bunch of kids got in fights at school, and now I'm like, oh damn, I've watched Ong Bak a whole bunch of times, but I want to watch it again and pretend I'm that dude. I'm kick someone's ass like that.
I guess my point
and I would
is,
watch it again, but I've already seen it a bunch of times.
Right. My point isn't that you're not learning a lesson, but how do you pick a movie? You pick a movie based on kind of how you're feeling at the moment.
Yeah.
Who's with you or whatever.
All the variables that have led you up to that moment. All
So
the
how do you?
experiences.
So when you look at let's say you got 4 movies. You got Spider-Man. You got Tron. You got Star Trek, and then you got help me out, Iron Giant. You got all these movies, all amazing movies, but you're gonna be like, which one do I choose? You're like, and I look at the movie, and if I have the whole plot, I don't want to watch it. For me personally.
Oh yeah,
and
'cause you want something new.
I want something new out of it. For me, I'm huge on analyzing a movie, getting some philosophical shit. So a movie I haven't seen in a while might be Iron Giant, and I might watch that again.
Yeah.
And then because if I can't play the movie perfectly in that moment, like right then,
Yeah.
then I'll probably watch it. And that's usually how I do it. But like in that, I'm not saying that you have to do that or whatever too, but that's kind of like how I'm like translating what you're saying, is that like,
So you're saying like, because we've already lived out this day, if we were to jump back
yes,
to the
with the
beginning
cheddars
of the day,
thing.
we've already eaten cheddars. Let's eat something else.
Exactly.
I've had that experience
Exactly.
in the future,
Yes.
but you know, I have it right now.
Yeah, cheddars is the Star Trek movie
ate
or whatever.
Ate it already.
Yeah,
Let's
I
eat
have
something
already
different.
Exactly.
Groundhog Day. It's the beginning of the day again. I'm not living out the same shit. I'm not doing it again.
Yeah,
I'm going to do something different. Yeah, I understand that. Because you have that variable. But like, so we turn back the day again, you know, but we don't change or we don't keep the variables we have at this moment. We're going to just go to cheddars again. Turn it back, we go to cheddars.
I don't know
Turn
what
it
I
back,
would
we go to
change. I
cheddars
think of
again.
a lot of like really profound moments in my life that are like really simple, some things that I just had to let go, like back through, because they were like cornerstone to being who I am. Like if that didn't happen, because like, okay, also think that your choices are not also your own, right?
Yeah.
Like me asking you to do the podcast is also like inhibiting on yourself, right? So like if I changed some circumstance, it'd be one thing if you fucking like went back in time. There's a porno. You choose a different porno instead of the one you were gonna choose. No big deal. It's only influencing you probably. But let's say that same day you go hang out with your boy. What if you choose to hang out with a different friend? What then happens? Because then the action affected somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think in that regard, like the butterfly effect does exist in that way.
Yeah.
Because like, what if that friend really needed you?
Yeah.
But he didn't tell you.
That was the day that they were at their lowest and they needed
right.
you.
And then you fucking like dipped and you were going to hang out with your drummer instead of your guitar player. And he's like, what the fuck? I thought we were tight. I need you this day, but I didn't tell you because I'm fucking introvert or whatever.
Yeah, and I never explained to you ever.
Exactly.
But like that meant the world. That was the thing that set, like, that was the night where I either hung out with you and I felt better, or nobody came to hang out with me and I started doing fucking meth.
yeah. But like, so my thing is I do that now. So like, for instance, last let's say, I think it was like Thursday. Was it Thursday? Last Saturday, Kaylee and I were hanging out in the morning, and I planned to go to my parents in the evening. I didn't go with my parents. I lied to them, and I told them that I was like, you know, errands were. Well, I didn't really lie. Our errands did run longer, but I told them I wasn't going to hang out. The day before, I told Kaylee that I was going to hang out with her, but she was feeling kind of sad. She wasn't in the best mood. And the following day, she woke up feeling sad again because she just wasn't in the best mood.
Yeah.
So for me, I always like balance what services the best in terms of like service to others. Like what is the kindest thing I can do for the people who need it. So the balance is, do I hang out with my wife for the rest of the day and give her like my full attention? We have fun. We do whatever we were planning to do. Or do I go to my parents? And it was kind of a mixed variable because I didn't know what to do. Because my parents, I don't see them very often. And it wasn't just my parents. It was like my nieces and my brother and a few others.
Family and stuff.
So it's family. It's like, you know, if I'm not there, I don't think that was a huge deal. And so it's that who don't see me very often. Or my wife, who does see me every day, but
needs you now.
Needs me like emotionally. So we got to like, you know, 3 o'clock, and Kaylee had brought up going to my family's again, and she did seem kind of down about it. But she finally seemed like she was getting better, and she was definitely getting better throughout the day. So the polarizing decision between what was in the most service was pretty clear to me that it was going to be Kaylee. So I chose to be with Kaylee, and the rest of the night went amazing. We had a great rest of the day. And my parents didn't give a fuck. They were like, oh, that's a bummer, no big deal.
Yeah.
So I think if in the same way where you like go back and make that decision, I think that same thing is like if you make that decision in real time. If you can make that decision in real time, I think that gives you the best result of your life anyways. So like being with Kaylee, I don't regret not going to my parents' house. Kaylee was way better off with me staying here.
Yeah, but like, so say you we did the turn back keeping the variables. So like you finish out that day hanging out with Kaylee, turn back the variables, or so you turn back time to the beginning of that day, keeping the experience that you yourself had with Kaylee that day. I think in that instance, there would even still be some changes because you've experienced that day. Maybe you would like choose like, oh, like when we left to go to this place, there was like probably some worse traffic than I would have liked, so we take a different route, and that could send it off in a different way as well. But like, if you turned it back, the overarching thing that you did there, you know, like, I'm spending the day with Kaylee. That's what's going to happen. And I think you would have still spent the day with Kaylee, turning the time back like that. Yeah. But what, like, so say because you spent the night with Kaylee, or spent the day with Kaylee, and your family seemed cool with it, but like, I don't know, like your like sister, like, this is a hypothetical, like your sister, like got kind of bored while she was hanging out with the family and was like, you know what, I'm gonna go home now, and then like left and got into a car accident because she left at that exact time. Do you think you would have turned back time in any way, or if you had that knowledge and you turned back time, maybe you still spend the day with Kaylee, but you break off a little bit as well to like call your sister and try to engage her at the time where she would have left, to keep her from leaving at the time, or what you know, things like that. Like, like, would you in any circumstance, maybe going down the road, turn it back to this point where you decide to hang out with Kaylee this day, but you can't? Like, if you hang out with Kaylee this day, in the short term, it seems like a great idea because the family's fine, makes Kaylee feel better, but like something drastic happens that, like, if you do hang out with Kaylee, it's gonna happen. Do you think you still would?
I think there's two parts to that. One, the only time that exists is now. There is no past, there's no, well, it's all perfect simultaneity, but thank you. So so I think there's a great fucking
well, that's why this is
proverb that says the present is the only time that's happening. Everything else is, the past is a memory, and the future is your imagination. So in that regard, like, I really believe like that same, because it's perspective.
Yeah.
So in that perspective, I don't think I would change anything, because like that's the best thing at the time is all you have. It's all you can see. I can imagine all these other things, but like, then what am I, living in like eternal like suffering with like anxiety and being like, I should have done this, I got to do this or whatever. Or you look back and you're like, I should have done this. Why the fuck did I fuck this up? And you put it on yourself. I think the best thing you really can do is like just do the best thing for the moment. And yeah, you could think a little further ahead in terms of like the day or whatever. Like, I'm not gonna box myself in or whatever, you know. But I think in terms of like, I kind of think in terms of fate, man. Like, if my sister's gonna die, man, she's gonna die. She had her baby yesterday. I kind of was like a little worried that she was gonna like die because she had a lot of problems. Which, no offense to my sister, I love my sister a lot, but look, if something's meant to happen, it's meant to happen, and I can't like
dwell on the thought of
like
all the possibility
of like, you know, like put that on me, like I could have changed this in some way, or
even in this hypothetical world. So I don't think this would ever be possible where you could turn back,
rewind and all that.
Yeah, like
would I have rewound? I don't think I don't.
Would you have still, like, even with the knowledge that you could have like changed the past and you have the ability to change the past,
not really.
Would you have
I
just
don't really
let
think
it go
so.
because it's not on it. You don't take the responsibility of that. That's not on you.
So I'm almost the same person. Oh, I am the same person who kind of believes that like
punching my computer and like, hit the corner
and like now it's broken. That. So like, you ever think about like why someone lives like so long, right? Like you meet like a shitty person and they're still alive and they're old as fuck. You ever wonder like why they're alive for so long, but someone who's really kind dies early? My thought on that is like the line of thinking that like maybe that person who's kind of a dickhead is here to specifically learn that lesson, and they haven't thrown away all those variables that's going to make them a better person, if the goal is to be a better person, right? So if the goal is to be a better person or to be a completely shitty person, because in the law of one there is equal value in being an asshole or being a good person, just polarize and make your fucking decision. Be a good person entirely, polarize positively, or polarize negatively and be a complete asshole. If you are either, you are polarizing and those hold equal value. If you are in the middle and you're not making your decisions and you're like really wishy-washy, then you're like, you know, what the fuck are you doing with your life? You got to start making some fucking decisions, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say you're a guy who's like 70 years old and you're kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah.
My line of thinking of why that person is still around is because they have a lesson, right? All of life is like one grand catalyst. Everything around you is catalyst. You are like, it is all just one food for thought for change. You know, like Dragonlance somehow influences me to better appreciate X, Y, and Z, right? But this person is a dickhead for 70 years. Let's say that there's just something that's like, there's like almost all hope is gone, but there's a little bit where they're like, they might change their perspective a little and then they die. And that incarnative state or whatever, they change their mind a little, which influences their next life. And they like continue on and they like make a change in the next one or whatever. But as for someone who's very kind and it was like an amazing like kid, and then like your 5th grade student dies. Well, what if that same lesson that kid was supposed to learn, he learned it immediately? And not only that, if that kid had not learned his lesson, maybe it's not important at all that kid learned his lesson, and that someone like his mother was supposed to learn the lesson of letting go, or the lesson of value, or the lesson of you don't know what you have until it's gone, etc., etc. But like to take away, they definitely are playing Fall Guys. I can hear it. But to take away the catalyst of somebody else does matter, because if I was to stop the death of my sister, I know for sure that would influence my mother, my father, my stepmother, my brother, all these other people. Even if it doesn't influence me that much, or it does, and I'm like, fuck, like my sister's dead, I miss her, blah blah blah. I mean, we all die, dude, but like, that someone's going to take a lesson out of that. If I take her away from dying, I am like removing the possibility of other people getting that lesson or the catalyst surrounding it. Mm-hmm. Now, if I'm in the immediate moment and a guy holds a gun to my wife, I'm probably going to do something about it, because we're all still learning catalysts because it's the present. But if I'm going to change the past, that means I'm changing future catalyst, which is dangerous, because are we not all on this planet to learn some lesson individually? Like, we're all growing and shit. If I take that away from somebody, what if the biggest potential of that person is the death of so-and-so? Or, you know, or like, you know, like you don't want your brother or sister to get raped or beaten by your parents. But what if that is so important to why they are here in the first place, and you remove that catalyst from them? And then now they're just some, you know, POS, right? Have you seen like have you played that game Life is Strange?
I've seen people play it.
There's a part in the game where the girl basically like changes the past. She goes back and changes the past. Yeah. She goes to a different timeline where her best friend is in a wheelchair, but she still has her parents, but she's fucking paralyzed, so she can't do anything. So she has the value of having her parents around, but she's like in a wheelchair. She's fucking paraplegic, bro. She can't do shit. She blows into a tube and moves around. So
quadriplegic.
Whatever, yeah. So is the value is the same, but the lesson is changed. So think about, there's an amazing movie called Mr. Nobody that's all about the value of choice, and that all roads have equal value, but it's like, you can't just change shit or whatever. They all hold an equal value, so it doesn't matter what happens, because no matter what happens, it's gonna hold some value to you. You just have to start just making your fucking decisions, dude, and roll with it, because life is about teaching you something, and etc. That movie's like really fucking complicated and totally a stoner movie. But
in some of that,
this is a 2-hour podcast, by the way, longest one yet.
It's easy just to kind of ramble.
I really gotta pee, so it's gonna end soon, and I'm really thirsty.
So in some of what you said, and this is just like a clarifying thing, do you think then that because you believe in like karmic things, right?
Yeah.
Karmic concepts and whatnot. Do you think that then some people have heightened like karmic priority in learning these lessons, or do you think like it's all kind of like made to like a giant jigsaw puzzle where this kid is that dies because he's learned the lesson he was meant to, is allowed to die because at that time only because his mother also needs to learn that lesson of letting go, which also plays into somebody learning the lesson of having to be there for somebody who's in need at that time. Like, do you think it all plays in like direct, like in
kind
direct
of
things?
yes.
So everybody's on the same karmic like priority level. It's all meant to happen at this particular time.
Kind of, yes. Yeah, because and look, one thing may not merit the other. Like I said, like if my sister died, I'm fully like in the place to accept death, right? So if my sister dies, like it doesn't hit me super hard. I love my sister.
No, but it would hit somebody else super
hard. It would hit someone way harder.
Like your mother.
Like my mother would be devastated. If I died, my mother would be devastated. Because she's huge on her kids. But my mom has to also learn change. Like my mom is like really stagnant. And my grandmother is very close to death. She's got one foot on a banana peel, bro. And the other foot in the grave, as they say. So I love my grandmother. I was going to say to death, but I love my grandmother.
Not appropriate right now.
Right. I love her. It's going to happen. It's the only promise you can't break. So, yes, it's going to hit my mother really hard because they're really close. But with me and my grandmother, I'm not like, it's, with me and my grandmother, it's, I've come to terms that it's going to happen. But if it were like someone like you or Drew or something, that's gonna like devastate me because I don't feel like it's like I have like I've come to full circle or something.
It would take some.
It would be a little different. No offense to Mariah, she's probably not even gonna listen to this podcast, but it's gonna hit a little differently because it's like unexpected. With her birthing, I was ready to accept it
because there's a heightened risk at that happening.
For sure.
If I were
up and fucking got into a car wreck or something, for sure.
Like,
and if that happened to my sister, I'd be totally devastated by that too, because that's like super unexpected.
But if I like choked on some shit while because the way I
see
eat,
that. I could see that. Yeah, for sure.
If I like choke on a fucking banana to death, you'd be like,
that would be hard to choke
that motherfucker eats the whole thing at once.
A banana would be so. If you choke on a banana, there's something wrong with you because they're so squishy. You could probably mush a banana with your throat while you're choking on it and survive.
What about like a fucking corn dog? You'd be like, yeah, I can see that because I've literally watched Aaron like stick like a whole fucking chicken tender down his fucking gullet.
We went to Cheddar's today and you had 3 croissants in like a 2-minute span at least.
I'm an efficient eater, but when it goes wrong, it's gonna go bad. bad.
Yeah.
Because that whole piece of food's in there, man. Like,
You
if
could,
it's
I
not
could see you
squishy,
choking.
I'm fucked, and that's
But
it.
your point is that, like, yes, I do kind of believe that.
At that point, if that happened to me, you would be able to accept it more than if I got in a car wreck. Or if I
Yes.
died from,
Yeah.
like, if I just passed away in my sleep. It's like, what the fuck? Like, you didn't go to sleep, like, with any heightened risk of not waking up. But when I eat, I eat like a fucking maniac.
Yeah, exactly. So then that plays back on, I would want to analyze that situation of what is the karmic. Okay, so check this out. This will come full circle and hopefully answer your question. When I had the Civic, the black one,
Asking the question at this point.
you were asking about karma and
karmic, like, priority.
Yeah, priority. Right. So check this out. So when I got into I had my black Civic, remember that? Before I had the Kia, someone broke my car. They like ran into my car and broke like the light. And I was with Kaylee. We were on a big long date night.
Yep.
And we went to the zoo, and then we ended up going somewhere else. We went to get like a grilled cheese sandwich, which was like this crazy grilled cheese place. And then we went and got cupcakes or whatever at this place in Dallas. But the thing that happened was, when that happened to my car, I had to ask myself, and I asked her out loud, I was like, what did I do to deserve this? And not like the world revolves around me, but what is the karmic reason? And I asked, what is the karmic reason why this happened to me? Because I've been very kind. I haven't done anything fucked up. I haven't stolen anything or done anything where I feel like I've merited some kind of resolve or a justice or
the scale. What have you done that the scales need to be balanced in?
Exactly. That's what I kept thinking, and that bothered the fuck out of me. Then
where'd I have it so fucking good? This bullshit.
Basically, but then the answer came forth of my mom goes, well, how about we help you get a new car? Like, this car's fucked up. You got to get a new car anyways. The cost of fixing that part isn't really worth when you have 200,000 plus miles and the car's already chugging. Let's get you a new car. And I was like, oh, so the catalyst for getting into the wreck that isn't understood at the moment was understood later by realizing and seeing in hindsight that the catalyst was getting into that someone hit my car. The catalyst for that ended up creating the change for getting a new car, which I fucking love my new car. It's amazing.
Yeah, anime babes all over.
I got anime babes all over that bitch, bro. Like, it's a nice ass car, and it gave me something. It was like almost like the world, like the universe gave me like a punishment, perceivably at the moment, because you can only really see in the present.
Yeah.
And it gave me like a reward. And so I was like, oh, so did I deserve this? And then I had to give gratefulness. I had to give like thanks to the universe. Be like, okay, so I didn't know what the fuck was happening at the time, but I ended up getting a car which was some kind of like universal, you're welcome, or thank you or whatever. So, then I give thanks for that, and then everything seems well.
So essentially, what it boils down to is, in your I know you have to take a piss.
I do have to pee too. How'd you know that? Did I say I had to pee?
Yeah,
I gotta pee.
How did I know? I'm a mind reader and I can hear your voice.
Yeah, I gotta pee. I'm thirsty. Yeah. Did I say I had to pee?
Yeah. So in your worldview, or universal view, I guess, you believe in like a karmic grand plan of like
kind of
how things are. They would work out like this always, like you're kind of an unwitting actor in a play, and you aren't privy to any of the information that's going to happen, and you can only make choices that you can make, and other people can only make choices that they can make, but it still plays out in a way where everything balances karmically.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, I remember someone asking me if I was
a boring ass determinist, dude. I just think that all this shit was gonna happen anyway, and that's it.
I mean, they're similar. They're similar for sure. Someone had asked me if I believe in Yeah, and like a predetermined end. And I was like, I don't.
I might have asked you that at some point.
Someone
we were
has
playing D&D, and I brought up determinism and materialism. We were talking about that for shit for too long.
I'm sure we have, and then everyone gets mad at us because we're talking for so long, which is why we could just do more podcasts like this.
I like talking about that stuff, even if we don't agree on it. Like,
yeah, we don't have to agree.
Very much enjoy talking about it.
Because clearly we didn't yell or get into an argument, at least this time. Is it your phone? So
get out of here. We're talking.
I would say, maybe the answer is yes. The only reason why I don't really think that is because the future is always changing. Because, like, there was someone I knew who was, and this is going to sound dumb as shit, so get ready. But there was someone I knew who was really fucking psychic. Like, amazing psychic. Like, there was someone I knew who they touched your hand and they knew everything about you. And it was fucking scary. So you didn't want to touch her hand. Like, there was this girl, I don't remember her name. Actually, I just realized her name as I thought of it, as I thought of her face. I'm not going to say it. But there was a girl who, she touched your hand, and she would know everything about you. And it was really scary. Like, so when you talked to her, you also had to, fucking, like, think of something else while talking to her so she wouldn't get your, like, other conscious thoughts. Like, you could, if she wore a plunging top, you couldn't be like, damn. You had to think, like, I had a song playing in my head the whole day.
I just want to see them titties just once. Just one.
And then she's like, hey, you're not going to see these titties. She was that good. So what's my point? Her big thing that she said was that it's hard to tell the future. The past is set. Like, you can always know the past, but to know the future is a difficult thing because you'll see something come into fruition, like, you know, in the vision, but it doesn't happen because the future is always changing. Because especially, and it's like, it plays back on that scientific thing where it's like when you look at the object or you analyze the object, you change it. Yeah, it's the same thing. And I feel like somehow scientifically and spiritually, those things are connected.
That's like that's not the same as Schrodinger's cat, is it? Is that the same thing?
I don't know. I don't know what it's called.
Where when you oh man, I don't have the expertise.
I don't know. It's we're not scientists, but when you analyze, when you go to like observe something, it changes or moves. It's the same. I think it's somehow those are connected. So it's that same thing, dude. And so I want to say yes to fate or determinism or a predetermined end, but I can't really because I think those things are connected. So it's hard to say.
Well, yeah. If you knew, so if any creature or being could read the future, it would therein be changed.
Yeah.
From the moment they read it, it would be different when it came about.
Yeah.
It would have to be.
Yeah.
Like, because the variables have all changed at that point. Which is kind of weird to think about, because maybe it didn't. Maybe that's this thing you were supposed to see to come about the true future. But.
Yeah, that's how, what's his face in Dragonlance, you guys met him the other day. Or you weren't there that session, but Asinus of Palanthas.
Yeah.
He won't give people the future. And he's like, I only know the past and the present. Yeah, and they come to him and ask him for advice, and he won't give that to them. And he can't tell them like what to do. He's like,
that's the only way to keep it from changing.
Because it's the only way to keep it from changing. He's like, I can't do that because like this has to play out. Like things have to go like a certain, like the universe's way. And if I give you like the path, then like, you know, it's gonna change and it's not gonna be the way it's supposed to. You have to let it go. So I don't know, man.
Maybe he's the one who has to let it go.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I'd like to explore these kind of concepts, but we gotta cancel it now.
I gotta pee like really bad. So I'm gonna cut it. But this has been a fucking amazing. This is the longest podcast ever that I've ever done, and it was really easy to do. Yeah. We should do this again.
Hell yeah!
It was a lot of fun.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother. Thanks for doing this. This was actually a blast, and I like, you know, we got to talk a lot. And you're already one of my favorite people, so it's like really nice to like
thanks, buddy.
Sit down and talk and have like a fucking real man conversation instead of getting interrupted or.
Don't get me started on real man stuff. I'm a gender abolitionist, brother.
Brother. I'm really about to piss my pants. So we love you. Thank you for listening to. If you
Thank
did,
you.
if you got to the end, fucking kudos to you.
If you got to the end, drop a oh man, what should I drop in the fucking in the comments? Put an F.
Drop an F for the comments.
Yeah.
Because goodbye to your 2 hours.
Yeah.
Goodbye to your 2 hours and 17
F's in
minutes.
chat,
This is
boys.
gonna be.
F's in chat.
All right, thanks guys. We love you. Thanks for listening to our shit.